3, 2, 1.
For every celebrity pastor that falls, that fails, there are hundreds, maybe not for everyone, but there are many other pastors that aren't in the spotlight that fall and fail as well. But for every celebrity pastor, megachurch pastor, well-known pastor that falls, there are many other well-known celebrity pastors that do not fall, that manage to maintain their families and their ministries well. And beyond them are hundreds of other pastors that still have their church, that still have their family, that are happily married, and their kids still love them. This is what this video is going to be all about. In my last video, I did talk about certain pastors, and I didn't really name too many names, but certain ones that I've been able to connect with, know, interview, so on and so forth, that have not finished well, or that have been removed from ministry and then have returned to ministry. This video is going to be dedicated, though, however, to highlighting a few well-known megachurch pastors that I know personally, one that I've met, but three that I know well, that have been in their homes. I know their families, I know their wives, I know their kids, and really looking at what they've done well. And then one that I feel like in everything from what you see publicly seems to be impacting everything privately, what they've done well now to maintain and to continue to thrive and to survive and not fail in ministry. Now, if you're wondering who I am, my name is Jeff Moores. For the past 2 decades, over 2 decades now, I have built strong teams, strong ministries in the context of the local church. For the last 4+ years, I have been pastoring Rhythm Church, which I planted with an incredible team right here in Oceanside, California. My family still loves me. My kids still love me. My wife still loves me. Marriage is actually really good right now. And if you hold on to the end, I'll sum everything up and give some of the stuff that I do personally in order to make sure that everything is done well publicly and privately. Now, I will say this. Listen to me, please. This is not a theological debate. This is not a theology video. Some of these pastors that I'll talk about, you may agree with them, you may disagree with them. Now, all of them preach out of the Bible, all of them believe the Bible, all of them preach the gospel. Some of their theological nuances you might not agree with. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who has done it well and why and how. We always hear about the celebrity pastors, the well-known guys that fall, but what about those that are faithful? Come on. What about those that are still in it? What about those that are still loving their families and loving their wives and their families are still loving them? What about those people? And so I'm going to bring up a couple here, and we're going to make this, it's not going to be terribly long. It's going to be short. I'm not feeling real well, a little sick, a little throat thing. So we're going to get through this, but because I made this last video, if you've not seen it, go watch it. Basically, they did what? It's character versus content, meaning that we can still learn from their content, even though they haven't had the best character. So you can still learn from them. And then we looked at a few guys that have shipwrecked their ministries, and some, their families have left them, some haven't. But anyways, I'm not going to get all into that, but I'm going to highlight a couple people here and see what they did well. Man, it's so funny to look back at the catalog of content on this channel. So many good videos. Wow. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really would love as many thumbs up as you can. I really would love to hear your thoughts on this whole thing. We got some great comments on the last video, and I would love to hear what you have to say on this. And two, man, if you're on here and you've been married for more than 2 decades, let me hear from you. All right, this guy right here, Larry Osborne.
What's up, everybody? Think International, Jeff Moores here at Sticky
Look, I look like a baby.
3 2012. What winning looks like. I'm here with Larry Osborne,
Skinny,
pastor of North Coast Church and pretty much the Sticky Team's guy. How you doing?
All right, Larry Osborne. Guy's a legend. Absolute legend. Absolute legend. Larry Osborne. Now, what I love about Larry is this. Larry has pastored since he's the lead pastor since 1978. His kids are all grown adults now with their own kids. All of his kids attend the church that he pastored for multiple decades. They serve in ministry, and his grandkids are now in the kids' ministries and youth ministries of that church. Legend. His wife loves him. They're still happily married for, I don't know how long. I don't want to throw out a number, but I'm sure, it's 40 plus years. What makes Larry successful? Why was he able to last like he did? Why was he able to pastor? See, again, no one's talking about Larry. Nobody's like, you know what? Let's highlight a man who's been faithful to his family and faithful to his ministry and faithful to his church. Let's talk about him. What did he do? Well, that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk about him. Larry tells a story about his son, his oldest son. And when Larry was up and coming and the church was exploding, everyone was wanting him to write books. So he was writing books. And his oldest son came and said to his mom, I don't like it when dad writes books. And she said, why? And she goes, because when dad writes books, he doesn't play with me. Now, of course, this isn't ultimately true, but this was the perception that the son had. And so what did Larry do? Larry didn't write another book for, I believe, 10 plus years until most of his kids were older and old enough to where he could. Do you know how much content he left on the table? Do you know how much money, book deals that he just gone? All because he wanted his kids to know that they were the priority. How powerful is that? And again, it was mainly just perception, but he wanted his kids to know that they were the priority. One of the things I love about Larry is he said success for him in ministry would be at the very end of it, that if his family still loves him and his family still loves the church. And we're seeing it. His family still loves the church. The other thing that Larry would do is he was intentional to be at every sports event that his kids played in. I'm sure he didn't make it to all of them, but for the most part, a ton. Tells story after story after story about going to watch his son run and his daughter run and his son play basketball, and he was there and he was in it. Larry also has been very intentional with his marriage to keep that to themselves, meaning that he has not made his wife do anything in ministry that she did not want to do. It doesn't make her get up on stage. She's not co-pastor with him. She's not kids pastor, none of that stuff. She just got to do what she did, which I believe was an accountant for many years. I've been in Larry's home. It's a happy home. It's a loving home. I know Larry's kids. I know their spouses. I've seen his grandkids. They are awesome. And he's still in ministry. He's handed over the church since then, but he still teaches at that church, I believe, about 15 times a year. He travels the country, pouring into many up-and-coming lead pastors, as well as mega church pastors who are well and established. And his main thing is take care of your family. Love Larry Osborne. Moving on. Pastor Benny Perez. If you can see him, he's right there. There he is, Pastor Benny. Pastor Benny Perez, been in his house, know his kids, know his wife. Now, him and his wife, they do ministry together. They are a team. I believe they co-pastor together, but he planted the Church LV in Las Vegas, Nevada. Talk about an interesting place to do family and to raise a family. All of his kids love Jesus, love the church. They're in ministry. His kids serve in ministry. And one of the things that he said has made them so successful is that they've always done ministry together, that they always have included the kids into the work of the ministry. It was never pitting the church against the family, never. But it was always the church and the family together. He's taking care of his children, loves his wife, wife loves him. One of the things that I learned from Pastor Benny and Wendy Perez that's been huge in my life and huge in my marriage is around, I think it was 2009, we went to a marriage, no, it wasn't a marriage conference, sorry. It was a church conference, Church LV conference. And at there, Pastor Wendy was so incredibly honest with the other pastors there and pastors' wives about their situation in life, about their marriage, about their successes and about their struggles. And just the transparency, that was huge for my wife and I to go, wow, as pastors, we can be transparent with our successes and our struggles, or our struggles and our successes. Massive. They talked about counseling and how important counseling is for them. How they see their how many times they see their counselor, what they talk to their counselor about. It's like, this is amazing. So they've been able to be successful by maintaining ministry as a family affair, as well as having other voices speak into their marriages, their marriage, and their life. Love Pastor Benny. I've learned so much from him. Moving right along. Okay, this is going to be an old photo. This is going to be old. But Pastor Chris Brown right there. My man, Pastor Chris Brown. Love him, love him, love him. Dear friend of mine. Been a pastor and a mentor in my life now for, 13 plus years. Now, here's the deal with Chris. Chris is one of the most relational leaders you'll ever meet. How has he been successful in ministry? He surrounded himself with a lot of good people. A lot of good people who he can be honest with and who can be honest with him. Chris is one of the most driven people I've ever met. The guy's nonstop. He's like the Energizer Bunny. If you guys remember the Energizer Bunny, he just does not stop. He just goes. But with Chris, which is great, this is why I love Chris, is that even in the midst of all the busyness, he still is super intentional to take time with his family, meaning he will schedule time with family. It's a commitment and you can't get on the schedule. He's not gonna sacrifice that evening to go to your thing. He's gonna be with his family. The other thing that he did is he made his I watched him make his home into a hub for family. He created an environment there that his kids would want to be around, that would want to stay there. He put money into it. You should see beautiful backyard, pool, the whole thing. Now, I know that not a lot of us always have the resources to do that, but the fact that he was intentional to put the resources into it to make it happen. And then on top of it, he uses it so much for ministry. So he's constantly having ministry people, small groups, youth ministries, teams, all that stuff into his house, into his backyard, which I think is important because it does a couple of things. One is it brings people into your home. So they're going to see your at-home interactions with your family and with your wife, which makes you accountable, meaning they're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's also an invitation to do life with people and to be authentic with people. Chris Brown has killed it at that. Story about Chris Brown. When I first started working at North Coast Church back in 2011, I emailed him. I came home one night, I was working, and I emailed him, I believe, on 7 o'clock, and I got an email back real quickly saying, "What are you doing? It's 7 o'clock. You should be with your family. Get off your phone. Get off your computer." I was like, what? At my last church, I was celebrated for working more than I needed to. That's what you did. You worked well above and beyond. You neglected family time. But no, told me no, knock that off. And lastly, now I've never been in this person's home. I've met them on multiple occasions. I've spent a bit of time with them, obviously interviewed them back in the day. But if you look on the far right here, Judah Smith, much respect for Judah Smith. He's still in it. I mean, again, he's only 45 years old, but still, he's still in it. Loves his family. His family loves him as far as I can tell. Now, I wanted to bring this one up because, again, I don't know, but all I've been able to see from the public perspective is he takes over his father's church, fast-growing church in the Pacific Northwest. While taking it over and having to deal with all the complexities of a growing church, his father, who's his hero, dies. So there's that weight. They've got multiple campuses all over the Northwest. He's preaching tons and tons and tons. He's one of the top communicators of that time. So he's at every conference, at every leadership thing. He's speaking nonstop, and he recognizes that it's wearing on his soul. So what he does, I mean, he's writing books, he's doing all this stuff. He's in the news. He's Justin Bieber's pastor. He's all over the place. So one of the things I really appreciate about Judah is that he took a step back. He recognized what was happening, and he took a step back and said, I can't do this. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for my family. Now, still married, kids as far as I know, still love the church, still a part of everything. Again, don't know him personally, just everything from the outside. But here's a few things I think Judah's done well. One is just recognizing and understanding your own personal limits, where you're at in life, your season. Two, he's incredibly open and authentic about the struggles that he's gone through or is going through, maybe even sometimes too open. Him and his wife, they have a podcast together. They talk a lot about their honesty in their relationship, which would be number three, is just incredibly honest communication between husband and wife when it comes to all things success and all things struggle. And from what I can tell, he's incredibly involved in his kids' lives. Now, again, I don't know Judah that well, but I would just say, man, I do know people that know him. I think, too, with Judah is that, like so many of his friends and people that he was running with in ministry have fallen. And he's still there, and he's seeming to take the right steps in order to maintain health, counseling, so on and so forth. So good on you, Judah. To boil it all down, I'm only 45. I'm 2 decades in. My kids love me. My wife loves me. I'm not a well-known pastor. I don't have that spotlight nor that pressure, but I do have the pressures of ministry. I feel it. My wife and I have been incredibly intentional. We go to counseling when we need to and when we don't need to. We make time for our family. Our kids do ministry with us. One of them's off at college now, but the other one serves in kids ministry. My son is He's basically like our tech director, and the kid's doing sound nonstop at our church for events, everything. He's here before I am on Sunday mornings, and he loves it. So we're just trying to do this thing for the long haul. We're just in it for the long haul. So I would love to know from you, the viewer, what it is that you found to be successful for your marriage and your family, especially if you do ministry. Make sure to drop a comment. Be sure to subscribe. Give this a thumbs up. The more thumbs up, the more people watch. Some sort of algorithm in the YouTube atmosphere. Be sure to subscribe for more leadership content. And be sure to check out the rest of the videos on this channel. They're phenomenal. Even though some of them are older, they're still super good. All right, until next time. See you later.